Good evening, everyone. This is a meeting of the Great Barrington Affordable Housing Trust Fund, February 20th, 2024, 6:30 p.m., all via Zoom. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and Governor Healy's revised order extending remote participation by all members at any meeting in a public body, this meeting of the Great Barrington Affordable Housing Trust will be conducted via remote participation. Specific information, guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and a requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town's website. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to listen to the meeting may do so. See instructions at the top of the agenda. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. We have Joseph Method, Ananda Timpain, Bill Cook. Sorry about that. Christina Kurza, and myself, Fred Clark, attending as members of the Affordable Housing Trust. We have an agenda tonight, and we'll get right into it. We do not have any meeting minutes to approve, so we're going to pass over that.
I would like to make a comment for the record that we have to have meeting minutes at the start of each meeting, or we will be back where we were in December, and particularly knowing that we're going to be reporting to the CPC in April. We need to keep the minutes up to date. So what is the issue?
Execution.
So we need to go, yes, that the situation we have is just not working.
The situation that we have is just not working, and we need to speak with the supervisor.
Yeah.
So
that's something you and I can do?
Yes. I have been in touch all month long, begging, pleading, threatening, cajoling. I got one response a week after the meeting that said that the meeting minutes were almost done. I would have text in shortly. That was on January 27th.
Okay.
The meeting was on January 16th. I fully agree with you and acknowledge that not having meeting minutes, while it is detrimental to our image, to our communication, our reputation, our communication with the public, but it also is just rude.
It just sounds like we have a situation that's not working, and I don't want to make anybody a bad person for that, but we need to change the situation because we have legal obligations to have minutes available in a timely manner.
We do have legal obligations under the open meeting law to have meeting minutes available in a timely manner.
So let's you and I follow up with Chris this week.
We shall do so.
Thank you.
In regards to trust-related activities, North Plain Road, our Habitat for Humanity project, has two events happening this week. As many of you may have seen, Habitat is holding an information session on Thursday evening at Guido's. I believe it's 6 p.m. Guido's in Great Barrington. This is to show people the prospective plans and layouts for the houses that will be built in 2024 and beyond there. Also, at the same time, we couldn't have planned it that way. The North Plain, the engineer will be going back in front of the planning board at 6 p.m. on Thursday evening in person and on Zoom to get the final sign off on the what's known as the subdivision plan. Just to briefly recap, the project was approved by the planning board and by the select board for a special permit for its layout, technically under the zoning code called a subdivision plan. Then the engineer goes off, does his work, lays out the roads, details, provides engineering documents. This meeting Thursday is not a review of the basics of the project, but rather to simply confirm that the engineer has complied with the town's technical requirements. So it should be routine. Knowing some of the members of our planning board, I shouldn't say that. Anyway, it should be routine. Under reports, we have requested a report from the Select Board Planning Housing Subcommittee. As you may know, Garfield Reed, who is a member of this committee and also a Select Board member, is our representative to the Select Board Planning Board Housing Subcommittee that has been doing great work. He is not available because we're in budget season in the town right now, and I believe there's a budget meeting this evening. So we'll have a report next month. In terms of financial reporting, if you like, I'd like to share my screen with the financial report that Ananda has been working so hard at. Is that appropriate, Ananda? Would you like me to do so?
Sure.
Ananda has been working very hard to develop a document that we can use as an ongoing check and communications device to show where our funds are coming in, how they're working. It is by quarter. Let's see. I'm sorry, I missed the heading.
Yes, Fred.
Huh?
I can walk us through this.
This would be great if you would. I would appreciate it.
I would be happy to. So we are in the third quarter, which will end at the end of March. The running balance of 181 reflects what we've committed to date and what we have remaining as a balance. At the end of the quarter, so once we've completed March, I will reconcile the quarter against the town sources and expenses spreadsheet that Chris Rembold keeps. And then we'll report that out to the CPC. I did share this proposed format with Karen and Richard from CPC and got a strong thumbs up from them that this format gives them the information they need on the financial side. And then we talked last meeting about like just looking at this at the start of each meeting so that as we're having any discussions later in the meeting, our finances are fresh in our minds. At this point in the quarter, no movement has happened on the MassWorks grant, although Chris does expect that there will be some before the end of March. And if you look at the second tab, the town sources and expenses, Fred.
Oh, tab, yes, job, have to do stuff.
You're doing great. You can take my word for it or you can look at it, but it does not yet show the ADU as funding that we approved as encumbered. So I'm following up with Chris on that. The only other thing I wanted to share in the financial report is that I have been attending the joint meetings of the Finance and Select Board this last week through the warrant articles. And while there was a recommendation originally to include a line item for the housing trust. By the time it got to that joint meeting, the town manager was no longer recommending that, having had to make massive cuts across the board. And they're still facing more cuts to get the tax rate hike down. So that just affect like this, we are getting a clearer picture for our budgeting process as we move towards spring, that there will be very little to no funding for next year.
So the committee has seen this report that's on the screen now. It's on the left side by fiscal year, the funds that we have been credited with, and on the column labeled G, the grants that we've made, and H would be the amount coming out of each line item. So this goes back all the way to 2017 and 2018 fiscal year, which was the first year that we were created. Also in this document, for those who may or may not be familiar, is a narrative. So
And the narrative, the narrative tabs really, I mean, we can use them anytime we want, but they really are serve the reporting purposes that we need to have to share out information to the CPC. So they reflect that the actions and discussions that we've taken in meetings.
right. I still think they need to be edited a little bit so that they're a little bit more focused, but we can talk about that going forward.
Now that I got a strong thumbs up from CPC, I'd like to just keep it as is and not like the part they particularly commented on clarity. So I'd like to keep it as is.
Okay, I disagree, but I'm willing to agree to disagree. Okay, so that's that there. And are there any questions on the budget?
So when we get our $20,000, is that going to
23.
$23,000? Would that be in fourth quarter or third quarter?
That will be in a new fiscal year, so it will be first quarter of FY25.
FY25. Okay.
So I'll do a new version of this for FY25.
Okay.
So to be clear, we have a running balance of $181,146.96. That's not encumbered.
In this report section, I also just wanted to mention that I have been in touch with Chris and Jane about getting clarity on the emergency rental assistance grant that we made last April and the spending status on that, or invoicing status on that. But Chris is really in the thick of it with the budget work. So I expect that we'll have that information by next meeting.
Thank you.
And while we're talking reporting, Bill, you had started updating the website with information we could use for the program narrative report for CPC. Is that all there?
No, I don't think I had all the information.
I thought it was all in your head.
No, it's not.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll follow up with you.
Yeah.
I just want to be working on it like continuously but slowly, because I know none of us have a huge chunk of time. And I'd like to come back next month with a request. So I'm just going to seed this now, but with a request to allocate some of our administrative funds to work with somebody to actually do the report writing for us, so that we can serve as the base template for future grants.
Good. We'll look forward to that next month.
Well done, Fred.
I have one question.
Yeah.
So at this point, we don't have any prospects of getting any more money.
Mostly, however, CPC doesn't when they make the awards, they don't have the final dollar amount that they have. They have a rough number. And so they did say that should that number be more than the 23,000 they awarded to us, or if there were other changes, like last year, a developer did not accept the terms of a proposal, then we would be, there was kind of a mixed message there. Some people were saying we would automatically get that. Other people said we'd be at the top of the list when they reconvened.
Mhm.
I think the issue is that they have to reconvene and they'd have to make another vote, but.
Well, they're planning on reconvening, I thought, I understood, so.
So the 180,000 is unencumbered. We still have that for the future.
Yeah, and we can carry it into the next fiscal year too. It doesn't, we don't have to spend it by June 30th, which is the end of this fiscal year.
And sorry, and then the 180, the 180,
One,
the 180,
yeah, the
uh,
181.
the 181, will some of that be encumbered by ADUs stuff?
No,
Okay,
that's
so,
that.
so that's already taken care of. So yeah, okay, I got it.
So the first tab shows the calculations with the ADU award. By
Right.
the end of
Yeah.
So by the end of the third quarter, I'll reconcile all of that again, and whatever I'm just going to work off of how once Chris shows something encumbered, then that's where we land it in that quarter on our running document.
Okay, sounds good to me.
Okay, let's move on.
Yeah.
Under old business, we had talked about ADU, the next steps for the ADU program that
Yep.
we previously voted on. And I believe we created a subcommittee or a couple people who were taking that on. Is that you, Joe?
Yes.
Yeah, it's Bill and I. Bill did he did all the work. But
Would
he
would one of you
Thanks,
like
Matt.
to talk about it?
I made some ads. We still have, I don't know, have we heard back from town council on finalizing the proposal?
No. And I just I didn't push Chris again this week because
Yeah.
I was at the meetings and saw what they're looking at this right now. But
That's crazy.
I did talk with Jane, so they're set and ready to go. And yes, town council wanted to make some edits. I think, we're lined up to move forward with the construct contract for administering the applications. And the other part they're administrating that I can't think of off the top of my head, income verification.
Right.
So
But
can we keep this on the agenda for next month as an open item?
I think we can, and I think that by next month we want the contract executed. I'm wondering if we can aim for an April due date. But I think to do that, we need to be able to give Construct a contract so that they're on board and they can launch the application process as we launch the PR. So we made a list in the program concept outline of what PR materials we'd need. So
Right.
that's what I'm wondering about, is where are we on that? Do we have?
I have,
press release?
yeah, I've made up some ads. I think I sent them to you, Fred, didn't I?
But what about the press release?
The press release, I didn't work on.
Is it something that you want to work on, or is it something Joe can work on?
I could do it, but if Joe could do it, that'd be better.
just been busy. But I mean, we talked. I looked at his copy. It was a good copy. We just need more copy.
Did you want to share that with the group, Fred?
Uh,
I think I sent you ads for Facebook, Instagram, and Shopper's Guide.
and when did you do that?
Oh, within the last day or so.
Within the last day or so, I was incredibly busy. So
I think we talked about the ads and then having a short, one paragraph program description that could go on our website and be and be used in a press release and be used by Construct.
Yes, I put something up on the website already for that, which
So
was,
that would count as that.
Yeah, just give me
Yeah.
2 seconds here. Got it.
yeah,
Hold on 1 second, please.
there's also a link to a web page that I put together, which has the brief description of the project.
Just did a few things there, Bill.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he did a lot of work.
And can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mhm.
is it large enough?
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Where do I have access to those? Because I would like to send them to people.
They're
Oh,
not,
we're not,
it's
we're
not,
not ready.
they're
We're
not,
Not ready yet.
they're
But
not
this-
out yet.
Just like concept. But I mean, this is fine. This idea right here is fine. And then when you go to the actual website, just like my feedback was just that I wanted to have like really concrete examples of what ADUs are, just to like the garage, attic, whatever,
Basement, tiny house.
but yeah, but just different pictures, like actual like literal illustrations showing like these could be ADUs,
Mhm.
Um,
You could add a link in that to the relevant zoning. I mean, the relevant bylaw.
Do the
Mhm.
tiny houses, do they fall into this?
Yes.
Yeah.
They do. Yeah, I was talking about like just uh yeah, just the marketing side of it, just making it.
So,
You go.
Joe, what I heard you saying was that we need a little bit of, when people go, we drive them to the website. When they go to the website, we need a little bit more to show them an example.
Yeah, and I just meant like visual, just to like make it concrete for people.
And are
I wouldn't. Yeah, go
who's
ahead.
taking charge of doing that, or?
I'll probably get that done in the next few days.
Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing these ads now. But I think the consensus was that they're what we're very pleased with them. Thank you very much, Bill and Joe, for all your work.
And I'll follow up with Chris and see if we can have the contract executed between now and the next meeting.
Yeah, and it sounds like April is a good goal for getting all of the parts together, right?
I mean, it depends on how quickly, to me, it depends on how quickly we can get the contract out and signed by Construct, because they, like they need something real in order to line up their end of it. So, and then we'd want to make sure that there's enough time between the announcement and the due date for somebody to put together an application.
What's the construct's end?
They're going to, they are going to do two things. One, they're going to manage the application process. That's why we put all of that time into the rubric.
Mm.
So they'll set up the application and do all of that. And then they also will do income verification for the tenants of the ADUs.
Mhm. Okay.
Okay, so we have pretty well understood who's doing what, and everybody knows what they're working on. And it sounds like it's really coming together. So
So, and one more question. So the tenants of the ADU, so the people who are building the ADU or creating ADU, they are not the tenants, they are the creators. So how would they, so the verification of the tenants is after it's
Yeah.
already created, the ADU, yeah? Okay.
But the
Hey.
restriction is that the ADU has to be rented to somebody who's income eligible.
Yes, yes. So, but that would be after it's created already. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we'll put this on the agenda for next month, and we'll try to wrap it up at that point if we can. So that's good. Thank you, everybody, for your work. So moving on to new business, Bill has made a proposal, which I think many people are interested here. So I'm gonna, again, see about sharing my screen. I gotta go back. Sorry, I should have been set up for this, but here it is. So,
I wasn't sure whose proposal it was.
I asked the same question too.
Yeah, I was like, it looks good. Just didn't know
It
who
was
it
me.
was. I like it.
let's see, share screen. It should be there. Where is it? Videos. Hold on 1 second. Let me just make sure I've got this. Plus proposal is there. Go back here, go share. Plus proposal. Let's see. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Yes. Can
Good.
you make it slightly bigger? Because even in my, that's even too big, but.
Too big?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
fine.
And
I mean, it was just this is too small. One
So
more.
you've all been copied on this, and I know that there's we have several guests tonight
Okay.
who I think are interested in this. I think it was perhaps incorrectly labeled as a tiny house proposal. I personally would call it more of a cottage proposal, but that's
Yeah, I think tiny houses are considered 400 square feet or less, and I was proposing this for 600 to 900 square feet.
and
Yeah.
I think tiny houses by definition are movable, aren't they? Or potentially movable.
Yes.
Whereas these are more permanently built.
Yeah.
So
It clearly says small house. It's a
small
small
house. It was incorrectly labeled as tiny house on the agenda. Bill, since this is your proposal, can you walk us through it? And there is that graphic too that I sent you from this morning, the layout,
Oh, yes. Was that Williamstown?
Williamstown.
Yeah.
That might help people to understand what we're talking about. I don't know if that's relevant or not.
Not necessarily. I was just thinking, if people can't afford the houses we have to build houses they can afford. And it's not a great leap of faith, but so essentially we put more houses onto a small lot.
Mhm.
And the trust would maintain ownership of the lot. The trust would have to purchase the lot, or if we acquire a lot through tax taking or something, some other condition from the town or something like that. The trust would own the lot. The individual homeowners would own the individual homes. And the financing would be through conventional mortgages, first-time home buyer mortgages. So that the fact that the trust owns the lot allows us to put a deed restriction on the properties so that the resale value would be tied to increases in area median income. So it's not the kind of thing that you could buy the house and be in it for 5 years and then flip it for a lot of money. These are homes. These are not investment properties. These are a way for people who would normally be renting a house to actually own a house for about the same amount of money.
How did you arrive in that in the price?
Basically, I took 100% of area median income
Mhm.
and took 30% of that, and that's the cost of the housing, including real estate taxes, insurance, and mortgage.
Mhm.
And that would be with up to a 10% down payment assistance grant from the trust as well. So essentially, two people making $20 an hour could afford to buy one of these houses.
Mhm.
And I can't afford to buy anything else in town. So it's an opportunity to
Wait,
build equity.
is your, well, how are you getting that from two people making $20 an hour?
$20 an hour comes out to around 40,000 a year.
Yeah,
If there's two people making 40,000 a year, you have an $80,000 a year income, which is about right for 100% area median income.
no, that's way, like, that's a lot less than 100% area median income for an individual is around
Oh.
7.
Yes.
That's why I was like that.
But I'm saying that these houses could be affordable to a couple making $20,000 a piece.
Did I just switch
$20 an hour a piece.
Bill, can you see the median area median income? Did I switch that for you?
Yes, you did.
So Bill has done this worksheet explaining how an hourly salary works out for both 100% area median income, the maximum that we can go to, the average wage in Berkshire County, and what monthly rental allowable 33% would work out to at different income levels. So it's kind of a breakdown. He's taken it one step
I'm just,
beyond what we talked about last time.
yeah, but I don't think you're understanding what I'm saying is that that's 100% median income for two people.
Let me go back.
Yeah,
Yes.
all right, so the
About 80,000.
is about 81,000, and then, but for one person, it's 43,000.
Right.
So I don't know that with a housing this size, we can assume a 2-person income. Just want to throw that out there.
Yep.
Very.
Also, my question is, have you researched if that 225,000 would pay for building a house of that size?
Well, that's what I'm hoping that the board will allow me to do. What I'd like to do is get some real numbers on this. These are all estimates. I mean, they're reasonable estimates, I think.
Well, when
But I
we,
need to go to contractors, I need to go to banks and see about mortgage rates. There's a lot of
Well, I think before that,
feasibility
I mean,
work to do.
I think your numbers might be a little light for the 225.
Uh-huh.
But you know, there's a possibility of doing that if you do it through panelized construction or, you know, build several at one time. The problem with the $300 a square foot is you're still building bathrooms and kitchens, but you're distributing that at a highly expensive cost over smaller square footprint. In other words, you still got to build that
Right.
much stuff, and you
Right.
still got to build a roof and, you know, a foundation and all those stuff, but it's divided over less square feet. So the cost per square foot can go higher than
Yeah,
$300.
so that's what I need to figure out. That's what I'd like to go forward and explore with real numbers.
I mean,
You said
having
it's
said
possible.
that, you know, the over in Columbia County, there's a modular home builder who's building houses of about this size for $125,000. Now,
Yeah.
transportation, foundations, finishing, installation, all that kind of stuff is going to add stuff to it, but it might be a way to go. I don't know. Ananda, you have your hand up.
well, one, I'm curious, Christina, what you think, because this has some of the elements of idea you brought up a long time ago about, like, could the trust purchase land so that other people could build houses on it? So that's a general question. And then, you know, Bill, if your question is like, are we interested in this enough to find out more? My personal answer is yes. When you and I did our digging around for the ADUs and talked to like builders who were doing kind of moderately priced work, we were still hearing it was like 400 to 450 a square foot. So, but that does, so from that perspective, that sounds low to me. Fred, what you're talking about sounds really worth looking into. And So I'd be in favor of seeing a subcommittee or you alone, however we all want to work it,
Mhm.
to do some more research on this. And because I do think that it would be good if we could bring it in at least at this price, if not lower. And then my question for you, Bill, is do you know this, if our current zoning allows for this?
Yes, I have spoken with Chris about a couple of lots that I was looking at.
Mhm.
Um,
And our
and one of
zoning
them,
allows
one
for
of
this.
them we could put 8 units by right, and the other we could put 3 by right, and probably 1 or 2 more by special permit,
As separate buildings.
separate buildings
Or duplexes.
or duplexes.
In terms of the
Christina, Joe's got his hand up a minute.
sorry,
I'm sorry.
Oh, so the project that you were looking at, the cottages, do you know, were those prefab?
These?
Yeah, are they
No.
prefab or stick built?
They were stick built in the 1800s.
Oh,
Those are
oh,
historic.
I
This
thought
is-
I thought it was a fancy new development. Oh, okay, never mind.
No, these have been there for a long time.
Oh, okay.
Um,
What
but
I
I've
was
seen Joe, I've seen some of those developments, new developments, smaller, not tiny houses in terms because they were not movable, but small, and they looked kind of like it too, like a really fancy.
Bill, would you mind if I showed the Williamstown thing?
no, go ahead.
I think, I don't know if you can see that now.
Mm,
This was in the paper in iBerkshires. And if you can see this, it's one example from Ashland, Oregon, where they actually had 12 dwelling units with a common building on one lot of land. Everybody had, some sort of frontage or open to the outside, and everybody faced the open space. In this unit, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 8 and 9 are all duplexes. And I think 5 and 6 are too. This is just, it's something to talk about. It's not what we're talking about. I don't think this would necessarily fit into our zoning code, but it's an image that might work. You just don't know.
mm,
Actually, there is something that this image reminds me of in Pioneer Valley, where at some point I was researching a lot of those new developments,
Right.
and there is one around the kind of round area with a bunch of houses. There's also land around, and it's a fantastic development, and it wasn't expensive at all. I could find out because I had a friend who lives there. I have to remember her name,
I
but
believe it's co-housing is
Mhm.
the concept that you're talking about in Amherst, in North Amherst. There's 2 projects.
it's not co-housing in any
Okay.
because everybody has a separate house with the garden, and
Well, I think it's still, I think that may be what they call co-housing. But
really?
let's look into it.
Mhm.
I think it's very much under the guises of
Anyway, I don't want to.
really environmentally like zero. What's they call it when energy is very low.
Oh,
Like-
the
Low
energy efficient.
usage.
Like a net zero. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks.
So yeah, I mean, I think the board is in general favor of this idea. I think as we've talked over the last, years and months, land cost is one of those things that drives housing cost way up. And if we can figure out how to manage the land cost, manage the taxes on the land, we have a better chance of managing the total cost of the housing. There's also some qualitative values to knowing your neighbors, being more in community. I think there's a potential for creating community. I see two hands. I don't know who was first. Christina, do you want to follow up?
Yeah,
Christine?
I wanted, because I did never had a chance to say that. Ananda mentioned that it's still unaffordable for a single person. It's a small house that actually is really a size for a single person. And I wonder if something can be done about it. So say the price of building lower, maybe, and also maybe more of the grants from either town or us. Like taking it under consideration, that it would be more affordable for a one person.
I think those are good points. And I think that is something that we should keep in mind. Ananda had raised the similar issue, and Christina. I think that we need to make sure that we're not designing only for one family, one prototypical user who may just be so narrowly defined that it limits us.
I did come across something interesting when I was sort of going through this. The original Levittown, surely you've all heard of Levittown.
Yeah.
Mm,
Most of those houses were 750 square feet.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they
So
were all on
it's
their
been
own
done
little
before.
lots, and
Mhm.
Yeah. They were pretty close together too. Not quite this close, but
Ananda, did you have some other comments?
Bill, in your preliminary conversations, what are we looking, what do you think we're looking at for the price of the land purchase?
Anywhere from 150 to 500,000. Depends on where it is.
I mean, it's very expensive around here, but I saw amazing 45 acres in Sandersville for 150,000 or
Yeah,
something.
but that's not great for affordable housing. It's way out there.
Oh,
Well, it doesn't matter because we can't purchase land in Sandusville.
That's right. We can't do that anyhow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, as Bill mentioned, we may need to start looking beyond purchasing land and figuring out how we can work with the town to acquire a lot or one or more lots, or make the pitch that this would be beneficial to the community.
Yeah.
also,
A donor, for instance.
exactly.
yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I also wanted to mention that even if we paid, $400,000 or $500,000 for a lot, the town would make that money back in 15 or 20 years in taxes.
Mm,
Um,
okay.
so there's that too.
Mhm.
I wanted to just follow up on the zoning considerations. Bill, is there some way that we can, I would like to get a better handle on that. Could you maybe have a talk with me or something about
Yeah.
how, what you've discovered about zoning and how you would,
Yeah, perhaps you and I and Chris could talk about that.
yeah, I think that would be helpful. So I need to have a better
I
understanding.
think we have that conversation here, since it's a question I asked.
Okay.
Well, maybe it would be a report then.
So I'm just wondering, Bill, is this something that you just want to work on, or should we do what we did with ADU and create a subcommittee? I'm very aware that Christina's been researching similar things I mean, when we both first started, this was the first proposal you asked if somebody could work on with you.
Yeah.
Mhm. Sure.
I could go either way. If somebody would like to join me in this quest, that's fine.
Yeah, I would love to actually.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions?
So do we need a vote? Do I just
To vote for
general
what?
consensus that I should go forward on this as
Do you just want to talk to Christina about it and then have follow up next week or next time?
Yeah, I'm ready to move forward on it if we have consensus.
What?
And you're
What?
just moving forward on getting more information, right?
Yes.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Feasibility is what I'm moving forward on.
Yeah.
yeah. Oh,
Will this really work?
yeah, good. Yeah. Research it, and I think everyone would love to help. So
Okay.
And we have a community member with their hand raised, and I know that as we conclude discussions, you like to bring people in.
Sure. Jim Harwood, I believe you have your hand up. Can you let us know what you want to talk about?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
So I wanted to talk about this. I think it's a great idea. I think you guys are all touching on the right points. Fred, your comments about construction costs, real estate taxes, and zoning. Zoning was a recurring theme amongst many of you. They're all challenges. I've often thought that if land was free, we still couldn't build affordable housing if it wasn't for grant money. So we need to be allowed to do it. We need a place to do it. Like we need to own it somehow. And then we need a way to execute. So it's really about lining up synergies. And so I know that all of you devote, your time on a volunteer basis. So thank you. That's what I do. I think, obviously, so I'm an architect. I volunteer for a group that does affordable housing. There's a lot of different hats I wear, and all of them are interested in this. Scalability is a really important part of affordability. And Bill, as you're pursuing this and looking for ways to explore feasibility, I have certain expertise that might be valuable to you that I'm willing to, contribute on a pro bono basis.
That'll be terrific.
To the extent that it doesn't preclude the CDC from potentially partnering with you guys in the future.
Absolutely.
And, one really small practical thing, you're talking about you want to get the land from the town and you want to create the housing and then you want to put people in it, and, life being what it is, people need to be able to sell and move on. And how do we keep it affordable? I think, there's a really tried and true model. You guys were talking about Levittown, but at the risk of outing myself, I came here from New York, and I lived in what's called a Mitchell-Lama apartment, which was the technical aspects of which I probably don't even know the details. But basically, it was a co-op where an entity owned the land, and then the apartments were made available on an affordable basis. And then you could buy in from the co-op, and then when you sold, you had to sell back to the co-op, and that's how the prices were kept affordable. And so you had to be qualified to be able to buy, and then when you sold it back to the organization, and they then resold it, and there was some formula as to what the appreciation was while you held it, but it was nowhere near what the market was. So this is all, like, you guys you're in the right place.
Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you, and let me know, Bill, how I can help you.
I will. I'll be in touch.
Yep, thanks.
Are there any other
Good night, guys.
community members who would like to speak? I saw one other hand there very fleetingly. Anyone have comments? No? Seeing none? We will entertain community comments if you raise your hand on Zoom. Okay. Joe, moving on to the next item on the agenda. Joe, you asked me to put zoning considerations for mobile homes and multiple dwelling units.
yeah,
You have the floor to talk about what you wanted to talk, what you were interested in.
sure. Do you want to share your screen, or can you make me host so I can share my screen,
I can
or enable me
do
to
that. Yes, I can make you a co-host, which will allow you that you should be able to share your screen now.
Okay. All right. So yeah, so I like this website, eCode 360. They have a good bylaw search. So, for those who don't know, the way, the way that zoning is done is there's the zoning bylaws. And I should have pulled it up, but basically, there is a map, and the map is divided up into these different districts, and then in the districts it shows the allowed usages. And when you look at trailers or mobile homes, it says across, like in some of the zones, it'll say not allowed, like downtown, you can't have a trailer. And then in the other ones, it says select board, right? So this means like special select board review for it. And then it has a little asterisk, and the asterisk says, look at 8.6.1. And so what this does is that it says that as a temporary dwelling, one trailer, recreational vehicle, or mobile home may be permitted and used as dwelling on any standard lot for not more than 60 days in any 12-month period. A permit from the building inspector is required. The special permit granting authority, which in this case is the select board, may, however, allow such use for a longer period of time by special permit and hardship cases, provided that a time limit of 12 months is imposed as part of the authorization. So in other words, it's basically saying like you can't have a trailer or mobile home for more than 60 days in Great Barrington unless you want to like ask like pretty please to the select board, and in that case, even then it can only be for 12 months. So that's the rule. And then looking at the actual definitions for, let's see. Yeah. So I'm just looking for the definitions of mobile homes. Definitions. Oh yeah, this is good. Okay. So okay. And so basically a mobile home it's just defined by these various things, and one of the things is it's less than it must be at least 500 square feet, and it follows the special mobile home code, and then it says that it's designed to be transported after fabrication on its own wheels or on a flatbed or other trailers or detachable wheels, and that it has to arrive at the site where it is to be occupied as a dwelling complete. So in other words, like basically in one piece, except for some like little pieces attached to it. And so basically, what I'm driving at is that our zoning bylaw is discriminatory against trailer homes, just like in the strict sense that like it's structured to say you can't have a trailer home, and then it's like, what is a trailer home? It's a home that came on a truck. That's like literally what it means. And so and then it has a like a reverse carve out where it's basically like a tiny home is not a trailer home because it's smaller and it has these various things that make it not a trailer home. And so my proposal is that we ask the planning board and maybe the select board if they would support it, but initially the planning board, that we request the planning board that they sponsor a bylaw change for town meeting to remove the initial language. So I don't know.
Are you suggesting a bylaw change to allow mobile homes?
Bylaw change to allow mobile homes, but specifically by removing that 8.6.1, just taking out. Yep.
So traditionally, mobile homes have been allowed only on a temporary basis, like if there's a fire that gutted a whole house. Occasionally, they'll allow you to put a mobile home on the same site so the family can live there while the fire gutted home is being rebuilt.
Mhm.
And the administration and the select board have been very reluctant to allow that other than in very special, what they call special circumstances, such as a fire.
Right. So I guess, so imagine that I am from another planet and I just arrived here. So I guess I want to hear like from the beginning, like why? Because I agree that's what it says, but why?
It's probably mostly for aesthetical reasons. That's probably it's the truth.
Yeah. That's my feeling. So, Ananda?
One, I just want to say, I don't think that it's correct to say that something that requires a special permit requires like going to the select board to be like pretty please. It's just a part of the process, and there's a lot of different places where you have to go to the select board for a special permit. So I just don't want to be on record having characterized that process that way. I also think
Wait,
that
hold on.
I also think that like zoning is not our job. And while I think it would be absolutely appropriate for the planning board to review this and make their own determination, I don't know that I'm comfortable with this board making a recommendation on the outcome of that determination, just in terms of the process that's laid out for how we do this governance in our town.
I mean, we don't have a bully pulpit function.
I think calling attention to a issue is different than saying the outcome of the zoning should be. In my opinion, I think that this board could have a different opinion than me, but that's my opinion.
I don't see the downside, but I also, in the next year, realistically, we're talking about not having very much money. So I think that we're going to have to flex our education and advocacy muscles. We're just going to we have to we just need to amplify what has already been done and talk about things that could have an impact. And I don't know. My hope is that people would be swayed by the argument and say that our board has like some influence and some that our board has some level of expertise or some level of understanding. And so then when we say it to the planning board, then they independently evaluate that, but it means something that we suggested to that, and then so on.
So,
yep.
Hello. Couple things. I agree with Ananda that I don't feel comfortable having this board suggest to the planning board what the outcome might be. I do think that the appropriate venue would be to go in front of the planning board during citizen speak, which I have attended the planning board several times and spoken about things that I advocated for the planning board to do, such as co-housing. We had a very robust discussion about co-housing at one of the planning boards. And that's the venue for that. The second point is, I think what we're looking at here is, I'm not persuaded by your arguments yet. And I think if you wanted to persuade myself and others, you need to make a better case for why a mobile home should be allowed, and why we can't do other things. So the zoning has very carefully carved out a tiny house, which is a movable structure below 500 square feet, and above 500 square feet is requiring a more permanent, such as a cottage that Bill was talking about. And I think that you need to make a very much better case of why a mobile home is needed. And I don't see that.
It's very simple. It's much cheaper than anything else.
It's cheaper. But also that doesn't make
I mean,
I think it cuts both ways. It's there's a status quo bias going on here. I mean, I guess the one thing you can say is that we assume that people in the past crafted the zoning bylaws, you know, with some sense, but it's a house. Like so I why isn't the burden on someone arguing against it to say why it's an unsuitable house?
I agree.
and Fred, while I stand by, I don't think that we have the expertise to make the outcome recommendation on zoning. Like, that's just not the governance process of the town. And I haven't spent the hours that that committee has as a whole in years that they have as a whole in those issues. And I don't have that level of expertise. Now, that said, I think that there is a well-known critique, and I think it's a valid critique, that the way communities and which communities embrace tiny houses but not mobile homes is distinctly classist, and has to do with disallowing trailer parks. I would like to refer this issue. I don't think it's a bad idea to refer it more formally than in citizen speak time. I would be comfortable if there was a majority of the committee that was asking that this issue be reviewed by the planning in a letter or something, the planning board in a letter. I don't want to go as far as saying I know what the outcome should be. And from the little I do know, I do think that what we're looking at in terms of construction and the quality of units is different than probably it was when the original zoning happened. And that I think all of that I would like to see the board with the expertise revisit. And again, to just like, I don't have a problem with there being special permitting processes. I know that I can think of multiple lots in town where I guess it would be a recreational vehicle was used as housing for a year or more while a family built their house. So it wasn't just like a situation, but that is different than providing housing long term.
Yeah. So I guess, yeah, I mean, I haven't necessarily laid out things sort of in the order that most likely persuade. So I think there's one respect in which it directly comes into our sphere of things that we're thinking about, is that when we're talking about the ADU project, one type of ADU that we cannot include on a property is a trailer home, right? So you can't just go and buy a trailer home and stick it on your property. And so one of the things
that's not fully constructed and brought in as a trailer on a whole.
Exactly. And so if you can make it a prefab home that's modular, then you could get away with it. And if you do a tiny home, you can get away with it. You literally can't get away with the thing in the middle. I literally have a vision in my head of a person who lives in one of the zoning districts where they are required to have a minimum acreage. And so it doesn't matter. They have to have a big yard, right? And they have a cousin, a son, or whoever who wants to live in Great Barrington. And it just makes so much sense to me for someone to say, okay, son, cousin, whatever, I'll go buy for $100,000 a trailer and stick it in my backyard, and it could look attractive, and and whatever. And like, that is a unit that's been created. And that option isn't really available. Everyone has to go with these stick built or a tiny home or whatever. And it's just like, there's just something that we're just leaving off the table. And so in that respect, I just think that we do care about it, and it's limiting our options. And I really like the idea of just like changing the language of the ask to, can you please review? So I don't know. I mean, would you be comfortable with that, Ananda? Of just would the planning board review the like just would the planning board review the necessity review the necessity and necessity and intention of 8.61?
I mean, sure, or that we'd like to request that the planning board revisit and
Revisit the revisit.
all current zoning related to trailer and mobile homes.
Yeah, trailer.
I'm just
Yeah.
looking at the 8.6 says trailer or mobile homes.
Yeah,
That-
trailers or mobile homes. Yeah. So I would raise
with the goal of maximizing all avenues to affordable housing in our community.
Yeah, and that's it. Like, so we're not dictating or suggesting an outcome, but we are saying, could you please look at this again?
Yeah, like our job is affordable housing. We've identified that this is an avenue for affordable housing that we don't currently have available to us. Please make sure that it really is necessary to not have it available.
Yeah,
If that,
yeah.
or change it.
Okay. Can I ask? So I would like to make the motion that we send a letter. I don't know how to phrase the motion, but I want to say it, so like we send a letter to the effect of what you just said, Ananda. Is that enough for the minutes, or how should I phrase it?
I could suggest you write such a letter and bring it to the next meeting.
Okay.
Discussion.
My only concern is I was really hoping that I was hoping that we could get it sent out before. It's just to like possibly be able to influence a town vote.
I don't think that there's a timeline to getting it on the town meeting.
You think there's not enough time?
By the way, I just found a gorgeous website with the gorgeous new designs, mobile homes that nobody would have anything against. So they're existing, looking good.
I mean, I don't know that, but I'm just imagining that the deadlines for everything going on in the town warrant are very soon, and that the work that the planning board probably puts it into warrant items is probably concluding, if not complete.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to make it on this year.
Okay, then that's fine. I can try to compose a letter so we can try to start that process. Then.
Would you like me to send you a link?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Are there any community members who would like to address that issue? Please raise your hand on Zoom to be recognized. I don't see any hands going up, so. Okay, can you stop sharing your screen then? And the final item that I had was me. I wanted to just very, very briefly, and it doesn't have to be elaborate at all. It's in fact, it's very simple, very idiotic almost. Oh, I don't know what I just did.
You just deleted all your information.
No, I put it on sheet 2. Basically, what I was thinking about was if the calendar year has a sort of a rhythm to it, if you will, that every year we have certain fixed items that we need to talk about, such as the CPA application. We're also required to file an annual report after the beginning of the fiscal year, generally in August. So these are the dates going forward for 2024 for the next 12 months. And I was just thinking if there's some way that we can sort of program our year, our calendar out. Every year, do we have more work in a particular couple of months and need to concentrate on those issues? We need to remember to do those issues so they don't slip off our radar screen. And then are there times that we can spend more time like we are today on new initiatives, new ideas, kind of things like that? And I'd be more than willing to have some input from anyone here. The issues that I was thinking about was if we have a budget discussion at the beginning of the fiscal year, generally in June, we know after town meeting, at the June meeting, how much money we're going to be expecting from the town for the coming year. We get that money on July 1st. I think it's appropriate for us to then look at a budget, look at a prospective desires and requests to spend money on. So put together that. We're required in the first meeting after July 1st to reorganize every year because some of our positions become up.
July 1st, or Bill, did you say at one point that it was in May,
What was that?
the election of officers?
Yes, it should be just after the town elections.
Yes, should be so June,
Yeah, June would be fine.
because generally we don't have May. We ended up having to do it twice last year because I did it prematurely and then talked to the town clerk who told me that I had to do it again. So I did.
Okay.
And then the CPA application. I mean, those are very simple things and all. So I'm proposing that if we don't have an agenda, that we pass over the July meeting because it's summer and because we're all busy. But if there's things that we need to talk about, we can do that. So anyway, any
Here,
input?
I have a question. Why don't we meet in May? And my other question is, how do we pass over the July meeting if that's when the town clerk told you to reorganize?
Well, maybe she told me to reorganize the first meeting after, and I need to confirm that whether it's June or July.
Okay.
Okay, so this is just,
Why don't we meet in May?
we do meet in May.
Oh, I thought you said we didn't meet in May.
We
No.
meet every month right now on the third
That's what I
Tuesday.
thought. I just misheard something. That's all.
We meet on the third Tuesday. So, and I don't know, you were suggesting you want to do a financial report at every meeting, very briefly.
Yeah,
Is
I
that
mean,
correct?
and if we haven't made, if there's no changes, it'll go fast, and then.
I mean, I also think that it makes sense for us to do an annual review, perhaps in part of doing the annual report of not just what went down per quarter, but went down on a 12-month basis. What did we do last year? So anyway, we can talk about these things. Okay,
Okay.
nothing big there. That's all I have for you this evening. Are there any comments from any of the trustees, any more initiatives, anything you want to talk about going forward?
Oh,
What was, go ahead.
I have been working with Smitty on
Oh, yes.
a bill to have any money in the Affordable Housing Trust funds available to purchase property for affordable housing reasons without having to go through the 30B process. That is, with the lawyers now, it's probably going to be introduced as a bill within the next few weeks. So that would give us permission basically to use any monies that we have from any source to purchase property without going through 30B.
What's 30B?
The procurement process, which you have to put out and issue an RFP, and it doesn't work very well for actually buying property on the open market.
Mhm.
If a foreclosed property came up, we
Mhm.
could just buy it.
Okay.
But at the moment, we can only just buy it with money that we have gotten directly from the CPA.
Mhm.
It's one of our best tools. One of the things that we could hopefully wield when we have some money.
Yes,
So thank you, Bill, for doing all that hard work.
yeah, that's moving along.
Great.
Well, good.
Be very good.
I have a couple things that I'm working on, but I'm not prepared to bring them to the board yet, so stay tuned. I can ask that if you have items for the next meeting, if you could try to get them to me by the first of the month or the first week of the month anyway. That would be very helpful, and I'll try to get an agenda out with the goal of 2 weeks ahead of time, or at least 1 week ahead before our meeting, and a packet of supporting information as I get it. No other comments from trustees. Are there any citizens who would like to speak on any issue? Please raise your hand and we can allow you to enable your microphone. I don't see any media speak. Eileen told me that she wasn't going to attend tonight, that she was going to the select board meeting instead. So we do have the Berkshire Eagle attending. Without objection, I'm going to adjourn the meeting. Our next meeting is tentatively scheduled for March 19th at 6:30 p.m. Good night, everybody. Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Fred.
Good night.